Okay, the boy crisis is a euphemism for discrimination against boys, and it's a cowardly euphemism. It's used to hide what's going on. Now, this Warren Farrell is a disgusting male feminist, and we're going to hear him spew his nonsense, and I'm going to take it apart. And notice it's TEDx Talks. Notice TED Talks has the good stuff. TEDx is for the LARPers.
Let me check with you first. Raise your hand, please, if you have a son, a grandson, or a nephew. Please raise your hand. All right. Oh, no, keep your hand raised, please. If your son, grandson, or nephew is having problems either with motivation, grades, ADHD, or addiction to video games.
Addiction to video games. You see what I'm talking about? They're not addicted. They like playing them. So, men waste their lives chasing status. And what this feminist scumbag wants to do is take the joy out of childhood. That's what he's doing. That's what he's really pushed for. Chase status when you're 7 years old and just want to live your life. Little boys are fully human. Before puberty, before testosterone destroys their brain, they're fully human. Little boys actually support one another and like each other's company and know how to live life in a way that guys don't after puberty. So this guy, this scumbag here, Farrell, wants to harm boys. He hates them.
Keep your hands raised if they fit, one of your sons, grandsons, or nephews fit that category.
Oh, by the way, and they're not having trouble with school. They're being downgraded by the female teachers. So it's not that they're having trouble, they're being discriminated against.
Okay, about 30% of the audience fits that category. So question one is, why are we blind to something that is so much around us that we would have to even ask the question, is there a boy crisis?
Because people don't like children, or I should say, they don't like little boys. They don't like men. So they have to turn a blind eye. Because then they'd have to look inward. That's why.
Second two, is there a boy crisis?
No, there isn't a crisis. There's discrimination. Everyone listening, you got to hear this over and over again. You got to hammer this home. Don't let them call discrimination a crisis.
Number three that I'll be looking at tonight is some causes and a solution or two. So let me start with our
He will not be honest about the causes, and he'll have zero solutions.
blindness. Think about when we hear of a police officer shooting a black boy. We rightly protest, Black Lives Matter.
No, they don't. Black Lives Matter does not care about black men. Bill Cosby was Me Too'd, and Black Lives Matter supported the women, not Bill Cosby. So that's a lie.
But no one even thinks of saying, boys' lives matter. The boy and black boy were invisible too. Black boys, the boy part of black boy doesn't matter because historically we've been dependent upon boys dying in order for us to live. We bribe them by social bribes calling them heroes, telling them they'll have glory if they die on our behalf. So our first issue is
That's one of the few true things this guy said here, right? So his solution should be to stop doing that, right?
very survival has been dependent upon our son's willingness to die. Being sensitive to their death competes with our survival instinct.
This isn't about survival, everyone. When boys go to war, or young men go to war, it's to bribe women into their lives. That's what's going on. It's not survival. It's a status chase. So see how he purposely gets it wrong. He's not getting it wrong because of ignorance. It's purposeful, right?
Get anywhere in terms of seeing the evidence for the boy crisis unless we take that curtain up first. When we take that curtain up, I think the type of evidence we'll be seeing is that for the first time in US history, our sons will have less education than their dads. If we take this worldwide,
Yeah, they're being downgraded when they're small, and they're being booted out of universities, right? So he's actually talking like this problem. He will never mention that. He will never say what's going on. Because then who is he going to blame, right? He's got to blame society's hostility to men.
the UN found this year that boys have fallen behind girls in every single one of the 70 developed nations.
They haven't fallen behind. They've been kept behind. See, this man, everything this man says is backed by a lie of some kind.
So what do developed nations have in common? They have in common a much greater propensity for divorce, leaving boys oftentimes without their dads.
What have I been saying if you guys watch any of my other videos? Once a country becomes safe and easy, the women dump their men. So that's what's going on. So he's avoiding the cause of the problem, that the women are hostile to the men that they use. Divorce is rising because women divorce men. They're not interested in being with men. Do you understand that?
So dad-deprived boys becomes the #1 cause of the boy crisis. When you have less father involved,
I disagree with this. As important as fathers is, because fathers, if you notice, they do not stop boys from being downgraded by female teachers, do they? So all these boys that are fatherless, you could get them a father tomorrow, and they would still have this problem.
what happens is that the boy ends up, and a girl, by the way, ends up having less likelihood of being empathetic, assertive, being much more likely to do badly in every single grade area in school.
Do you realize what he has admitted? Empathetic. So he's suggesting that fathers provide the empathy for the children. That means, ergo, that the mothers don't.
Being more likely to be suicidal, homicidal, to shoot up schools, and being more likely to be in prison. When you look at prisons, prisons are basically centers for dad-deprived boys. In California,
what he's leaving out here is that the police, being men, are hostile to other men. Right? Because these young girls who are dad deprived don't get thrown in jail. So what this guy is a feminist tradcon. All he's for is begging women to be nice to men and stay in relationships with them. He's not really defending boys in any real way. He's not against discrimination against boys. He's begging women to be nice to men. Remember, he started off as a feminist. He still is one. But he was there begging them back in the 70s to be good to men. This is useless and hostile to men, too.
since 1980, we've built 18 new prisons, 1 new university. There's been a 700% increase in the prison population in the United States since 1972.
See those dark hands? So this guy is going to soon start talking about how white boys are shooting up schools. Yet, it has nothing to do with race. All men get jailed.
That's a 93% male population, mostly a dad-deprived boy population. Here's the most frequent pattern. The boy hears his parents in conflict, soon the dad disappears.
See what a sneaky snake this guy is? The dad doesn't just disappear. The mother boots him out. That's what the woman never wanted him there in the first place. She was using him the whole time. Farrell leaves that out because he's never going to put the blame where it belongs. And not only does the woman boot him out, she boots him out because the legal system, which is made up of women and men, are hostile to the father.
The boy becomes depressed. Anthony Sims here in Oakland, his last Facebook post was, "I wish I had a father." Boys who hurt us.
Okay, see, now he's doing the demonizing, the fear mongering, right? It's not good enough that these boys are being treated badly because they're human beings. These beaten dogs might bite us. See, I would never even go here, right? Because they don't talk about young girls like this. They don't say, when girls are being treated badly, they don't say, we better treat them well because they might start trouble. They never say that. They just say they're human beings. They should be treated better.
Anthony Sims soon became the Oakland killer earlier this year. But other boys act out not by killing singly like Anthony Sims, but act out by doing school shootings. Most people don't know that there has been one school shooting per week on average since Sandy Hook.
All that means is that the male hostility has ramped up in the last 20 years, right? So the solution he should be coming to at the end is that we have to stop being hostile and discriminating against the male gender. That's what his solution should be at the end.
And we often say school shootings, they're the result of guns, they're the result of family values, they're the result of mental health problems. But girls live in the same families with the same family values, the same similar mental health problems, the same violence on TV, and our daughters are not doing the shootings.
Well, actually, he's untrue. We just saw recently in the news of a young woman doing a shooting, for one thing. But he's also leaving out the fact that women are risk averse, and also their bad behavior is enabled. And when they're down and out, they're supported by society. So it's so obvious this has less to do with not having a father in the home and more to do with society discriminating and attacking one gender, the male gender. And you see all this talk about fathers is him begging women not to throw him away. He doesn't give a shit about children. This feminist scumbag, remember, Farrell is a feminist. This feminist scumbag does not give a shit about children. He never did.
Our sons are. And so here's just a sense of the location of those shootings in 2 years after Sandy Hook.
Another threat narrative. You better be good to these boys simply because, not because they're human beings, but because they're dangerous. They're potentially dangerous, right? Trouble is, Farrell, some people's answer wouldn't be to treat them better, but to treat them worse. If the only reason we're taking care of them is that they might be a potential threat. See? Oh, look, and he's showing a woman getting hurt, right? What a scumbag. What a feminist scumbag. And then he tries to bring the race card in, like it has to do with being white, right?
Perspective is I see suicide as a reflection in boys of our inability to help track boys in a constructive way toward manhood.
Now, see a couple things going on. He gives the threat narrative that they're murderous, but then the suicide rate is up. So it's not that the boys are violent, it's that they are being attacked emotionally and psychologically to the point where something finally gives, right?
And we see that in the data also. So for example, before age 9, girls and boys committed suicide equally. Age 10 to 14, twice the amount for boys. 15 to 19, 4 times the amount. Age 20 to 24, 6 times the amount for boys. So if dad-deprived boys is the #1 cause of the boy crisis.
It isn't. It's, first of all, two things. One, it's not a crisis, it's discrimination. And secondly, the discrimination is not caused by fatherlessness. It's caused because society discriminates against men and boys, period.
The number two cause is very much related. Boys go from the dad deprivation in home to a male teacher deprivation in school. We didn't used to know the importance of that. We now know that boys do better with male teachers on average.
They do better because the male teachers don't downgrade them. Female teachers purposely mark down boys, right? So rather than fight to say, let's get male teachers, which isn't that bad of an idea, but really the core issue is to get rid of these hostile female teachers, or at the very least punish them harshly when they do that. See, he avoids any kind of punishment to the female gender.
But we also have discovered this year, as a result of the UN doing a study worldwide, that the feminization of education is a contributing factor to boys' problems. When the United Nations did a study worldwide, they found that.
See these sneaky terms? He's acting like having a feminine person around somehow affects the boys. It's feminizing the boys. All these losers say this. It is not. These women downgrade the boys. They discriminate against them. That's why.
The United Nations did a study worldwide. They found that boys all over the world are 1/3 more likely to be graded higher on a reading test when the teacher does not know that the person who took the test is a boy.
There you go. Then this isn't a crisis, is it? This is discrimination. Every once in a while, he'll say something that's true, right? This is true. So, but he's admitting that, again, this is discrimination by teachers against boys simply because of their gender.
This leads to cause 3, lack of purpose. When I
Oh, no, it doesn't. This doesn't lead to lack of purpose. Discrimination against boys leads to depression, and it leads to them taking their lives. That's why the suicide rate is so high. So this is a lie. See what I'm talking about? He says something that's true, a problem that's true, then he comes to the wrong conclusion, and he does it purposely. He doesn't. This is not ignorance or by mistake.
I was a boy, we basically had two senses of purpose. You were either a warrior or you were a sole breadwinner.
In other words, you're a servant. And a warrior means you murder other men. Right? That's his view of being of purpose. I can guarantee you, all you guys listening, that does not have to be your purpose. And frankly, your purpose could be just living for yourself. He will never say that. This female bootlicker will never say that.
But as divorces occurred, male-female relationships got shook up, and boys and the feminist movement came in, and they did a wonderful thing, which.
See, now this feminist is bragging up a hate movement. He's been in this business for 50 years. He knows better than anybody. This is a bold-faced lie he's telling.
Which was they expanded girls' sense of purpose from the old raise children only to being able to raise children, raise money, or do some combination of both.
They didn't do anything for girls. Modern day living expanded things, not the feminist movement. Feminist movement didn't do shit. But notice nothing's really changed. Raise children to raise money. Notice raise money isn't earn money. Raise money isn't earn money. And there's not three, a combination is basically the two things. So notice the woman, her purpose given by them isn't warring. They aren't losing their lives. They're not being a provider. So the men have to work and die, and the women don't. The women get to make money.
But no one stepped in and helped expand boys' sense of purpose in an equivalent way.
Dude, you're not expanding their sense of purpose. You've got them locked in a murderous role and a provider role.
Instead, boys were told, earn money, earn money, earn money, or alternatively, be a loser.
Well, earn money. That's what a provider is, genius. You only gave two options.
The women's movement and the society helped create affirmative action to introduce women to professions they hadn't been comfortable with, such as the STEM professions, so science, technology.
That's a lie. That's a total lie. STEM professions still have fewer women in it. They're not interested. No one held women back ever, ever. So this is another bold-faced lie this feminist scumbag is putting towards his audience.
Technology, engineering, and math. But no one introduced boys to the caring professions.
No. They've locked them out. They've locked them out. They'll call male teachers pedophiles. They don't want boys being nurses or anything like that. Women won't shack up with men who get into those professions anyway. And then they lock them out anyway. Women preserve those easy jobs for themselves. So this is another bold-faced lie. Farrell here is a liar. He's a feminist scumbag liar. Just know it.
So one possible solution to the purpose void is to expand boys' sense of purpose, to consider the option of being a full-time dad.
Listen, boys already have a sense of purpose, living their lives to their fullest. That's what their purpose is, and that's the only purpose they need. They've got their whole adult lives to search for purpose, to give themselves meaning. As boys, they don't need any of this.
An elementary school teacher, a social worker, a nurse. We even have to say words like male nurse. Or we can look at more broadly the creation of a larger White House Council on Boys and Men in the way that we already have a White House Council on Women and Girls to address the 10+ causes of the boy crisis.
No. The idea is to get rid of the one for girls and just stop discriminating against boys. Women have been living their lives on easy mode right up to the nuclear age. And then it went from easy mode to cheat mode. We don't need to be throwing anything else at these women and girls. Their lives are perfect.
A question that somebody once asked me was, well, will boys not consider themselves losers when they become full-time involved in the caring professions? And there is pressure in that. But I saw back as early as 1976 a clear example of why boys will not consider themselves losers when they get more involved with their sons. I was at a party.
Women are kicking them out of the family unit. So this has nothing to do with them being a loser.
In 76, and a guy comes up to me and says, "Are you Warren Farrell?" And I go, "Yes." And he goes, "You formed a men's group that I joined, and the group had more impact on my life than any other thing." And I said, "Well, what created that?" And he goes, "The most important question the group asked me was an exercise in which we were asked, what is the biggest hole in your heart?" And I didn't know the answer, but I blurted out without thinking about it, that it's actually, I was so involved in my career, I told the group, Warren, that I ended up neglecting my son, neglecting my wife.
Dude, his career was demanded by his wife. He wasn't neglecting his wife. She demanded him that. So this guy is doing exactly what his wife demands, and then he's blaming himself. That's a typical male psychology that has to be thrown out.
And that's the biggest hole in my heart. And it's really a deep...
Farrell is gaslighting us now. I don't know if this story he told is even true or not, because it just makes no sense. The man who stays focused on his career does it because his wife demands it.
Deeper hole now because I got divorced, I got remarried, and the men's group knew at the time that my wife was pregnant and with.
So this dumbass got divorced. In other words, his wife divorced him, and then he remarried. This is another. Someone should have told him, you have no rights in your marriage, pal. So if you got remarried, if you got married in the first place, shame on you. To get remarried means you're a lost cause. That's what men have to be told. By a true men's group will say that to them.
With a boy. And the group said to me, well, what would you like to do if you could do anything you wanted? And I said, well, actually, it would be to take 5 years off and raise my son full time. And
now, how would he do that and keep his wife around? He couldn't.
Group encouraged me, I should say pressured me, to ask my wife and talk to her about that. And my wife said, go for it, John. And so I went.
I don't believe that at all. Sorry. I might believe that she might have said that, but his second marriage would be in trouble then. Because I have a video talking about house husbands and how the wife, who was a bread earner, divorced her husband in no time. So this is a stupid thing for him to say. The only way he wants to stay with the son, first you have shared parenting, and you got to get rid of the wife. You got to let go of the wife if you want to have that kind of time with your son. Get rid of the wife and make sure shared parenting is the default. Otherwise, she's going to boot him out of the family unit and alienate him from his son.
Went for it, and it's now been 2 years. And I said to him, good decision? No, the best decision of my life. Up until I took care of my son, all of my life was about me.
No. It's about this is a bold-faced lie again. If he stuck to his career, it was for his wife, not him.
Suddenly it was about my son. Every move I made.
Okay, I'll skim up to see if I want to bother with the rest of this, but I'm letting you now know that this man is a liar. All he's talked about is fatherhood, which means he's begging these women to not throw men away. But he's not even doing it openly. Like, if he was smart, if he was honest, he would tell the men that you better beg your wife to let you stay. He's not doing that. And this doesn't stop any of the discrimination. How does this stop Title IX, for example, in universities? You know, all these young guys who get kicked out of university at a woman's word in these kangaroo courts at university, I've never seen fathers do anything to stop this, right? So this goes beyond having a dad in the house.
Considered precious. Every day I wanted to wake up and support him. I certainly learned to love and be love. As he said that, somebody came up to the table that we were sitting at. I had just come.
How to get married then, if he didn't know how to love and be loved? So he got together with a woman he didn't love?
Back from my first book tour, been on TV a great deal, and this guy says to me, can I have your autograph? And I go, sure, generous me. And the other guy, and the fellow asking for the autograph says, well, actually, I meant the other guy.
I'll see if he actually has some kind of solution. Okay. He gave no solutions. He just said, boys need dads. No way of enforcing fathers into the life. No discussion about how to fight discrimination. So this guy is just one of these female beggars. He supports the feminist hate movement. He gives voice to their scummy ways. He begs women to please don't throw men away. He's given 0 solutions. But you know what he is doing? He's probably here making money at TEDx talks to keep his wife bribed into his life. This man is a complete snake oil salesman. He's a complete con man. Man, I can honestly say I despise Warren Farrell. If you follow this guy, you're in trouble. Goodbye, everyone.